Ladies, the experts involved in this summit continue to amaze me, and I hope each and every one of you are getting little nuggets from each of them that are going to change your lives. At Flip This Chick, we believe small changes can bring big results, and I know you're going to love the strategies our next speaker is going to share. But first, let me tell you a little bit about her because there is actually a lot to know. Korie Minkus Trevino is an entrepreneur, business advocate, and culture shifter. She is CEO of Rock Your Product, an international speaker, and #1 best-selling author. She has spent 25 years as a consumer product Fortune 500 thought action executive and has launched and scaled hundreds of products and worked with brands that generate billions. She has been featured in USA Today, Success Magazine, Forbes, Vanity Fair, and on CNBC. She has a passionate, heart-centered approach with her clients and has trained more than 100,000 businesses in 32 countries. Korie leads a boutique advisory firm to deliver strategic clarity for confident decision-making for businesses. She is sought after expert in her field and provides proven tools and systems for success that she's going to share with us. With impact and conscious leadership at the forefront of her mission, she encourages problem solving, worth expansion, and getting uncomfortable with the unstoppable. Her belief system is the more you share with the universe, the more the universe will share with you, which is why she's here with us today to share a little of her wisdom. And I am thrilled to have her here with us to share her systems for success and 5 things that are non-negotiable for her in order to stay healthy in life, which spills over into the health and success of her business. So let's welcome Korie Minkus Trevino. Welcome, Korie.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Always fun to spend some time with you. So I am honored to be here, and thank you not only for having me, but for doing this amazing summit where we can all come together to talk about such critical topics for all women. So thank you for that.
Right. Oh, I'm thrilled and really grateful that you can be a part of this because, all of this real talk behind your background, really, I wanted to share that because I want all the women in here who have businesses of their own, lives that are challenging, to understand when you can come to us and share with us your systems for success. It shows us there are ways to implement simple strategies that can change our life, and we can find ways to have the time to be healthy, and that it matters, even for the busiest
100%.
people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it has to be a priority, right? Because it's so easy to allow our lives to deprioritize the important things, which is really ourselves first.
Right.
And, particularly women who work, who have children, who have a spouse, we take on a lot of responsibility. And so this has to be a non-negotiable. And particularly as we start to cross that line of premenopause and start to deal with aging of our bodies, we have to understand what that all looks like for ourselves and reprioritize if we haven't kept it a priority to make sure that we make it one now. So yes, absolutely 100% agree.
I love that. I love that. And too, I was excited to share the bee revolution that you are, pushing across the country and worldwide, I'm sure. So that's exciting. So be sure to share some of that with us because it is bee, from passion to purpose to product and prosperity. And those things really matter to us at this phase in our life, right? And so I think it's a beautiful movement that you have with that. And, do share with us anything about that you feel the women can really benefit from too.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for asking about it. So Bee was a best-selling book we launched last year, and we got best-selling in 2 categories. One was women in entrepreneurship and one was in business. And when we started the book, and we started writing the book, it was about women in business and the idea of, as women entrepreneurs and the mission of women in business grows so tremendously for women themselves to have their own piece of the puzzle that they want to represent and work in to be able to be entrepreneurs or be self-fulfilled. We realized in writing the book, all three of us are successful businesswomen, and we recognize that the business journey is not complete without all of these components of things. And it's really what you mentioned, which is what your passion is, how you're purposely spending your time in your day, and what prosperity looks like to you. The product is you, your business, your service, your physical products. And that's important to understand the science behind and the sequence behind building a business. And I do that every day with my clients globally. But it's all of those other pieces that fit together, everything that you're going to talk about today. It's so important to realize that being successful in business goes beyond just business acumen. And so it was really fun writing this book and exploring all the different avenues and channels that really people need to invest in their lives to be successful business owners. They need more than just business acumen. And I think that's what, the entire premise of the book is. And that's why I'm so aligned with this conversation today, because there are so many more things that make us successful than just the business that we know.
Absolutely. And I love that you have a real system for success. So many of us just have that desire for it. To have a system that you can implement that is going to come out on the other side is pretty remarkable. So I love that. And I'm sure many are eager to hear about that. So we'll be sure to let them know how to tag on to you and follow you along so that they can get more of that information. But while we have you here with us today, tell us about some of that system, that you really know is important as we move into this next phase of our life.
Yeah, great question. And thank you again for giving me a platform to talk about it. Because, you kind of take for granted that you do these things, but then you stop and you realize that they really are your life. They're like your lifeline. They're they're what keeps me motivated, inspired, and keeps me, clear-headed in all the things. So just a quick background, I was a competitive figure skater for 25 years. So I grew up as an athlete. So being in shape, being athletic, making good choices around what I do from sleep to eating and things like that, and then being athletically fit was always really important to me. And I carried that into, my 20s and my 30s. And in my 40s, I started to have issues in my young 40s, and, things like migraines and it was, and it wasn't that I was in menopause. It was actually just transitions that were happening in my body. And so it was really around the age of 40 that I really had to start to discover different things that were going on with my body. I actually had like these major breakouts of acne, which I never had acne as a child. And not even as I'm a mom. I have 2 kids. I didn't even have it when I was pregnant. And so it was when I was 40. And of course, I'm sitting at the boardroom table with all these men around the table and just completely embarrassed by the experience I'm having in my skin, because I felt like I had a lack of control of what was going on in my body. So really at the age of 40 is when I really started to get into understanding, and I worked out every day. I almost worked out, probably too much, 7 days a week, some of it really more for the mental than it was for the physical. But I realized that my body was changing and there were things I needed to be more aware of. And it's so important as we see those changes to just start to really tune into all the options of what we could be learning about our body. And of course, there's so much information out there. And I know that, your clients are blessed because they work with you, then you help to dissect what's important for them. And that is so important to have a coach that can help them to understand what's the right pathway for them. And so, by asking the right questions and aligning with people who are more knowledgeable than them. At the time, I didn't even think to hire a coach for this. So it was really self-discovery for me that really got me there. And as most people probably know, 80% of the success of your body is really, it could even be more. Some people say 100% is really what we consume, right? I mean, the 20% is, really, the exercise, again, is really good for our mental capacity. And it helps us with, keeping weight off and things. But it really, a lot is what you consume. And so when I started going through things, the number one non-negotiable thing that I discovered through the process and had never known is how underhydrated I was in my body. And for some reason, my body runs very, I run very dehydrated on a general scale. And so I've actually been tested, and I didn't know this before the age of 40. I found out because I was working out at the gym so much, and all of a sudden I would just get very lethargic, like literally could barely lift my arms or just felt, complete exhaustion, but I was in shape. I was, at my appropriate weight, all those things. It didn't make sense to me, right? So I started doing more research and realized, I was not consuming enough water, pure water. And just so you know, all I drink is water. I drink nothing but water. In fact, I'll get to alcohol in a little bit, but I don't even consume alcohol. But I was not consuming enough water in my system. And in addition to the water was understanding the electrolytes and the fact that you need water supplements sometimes because water alone doesn't actually hydrate you.
Right.
So one of the really non-negotiable things was I got myself a water bottle, which if you ever see me anywhere, I always have it with me.
Yeah.
I probably have 25 of them because, sometimes they break, right? Exactly. But you really get in a habit. And you got to find the water bottle that, suits you. For me, I like drinking out of glass. This is the bottle that I use, travel all over the world with it. I put it in my bag empty so I can fill it up at the airport. So I always have water with me. And, this is probably, I think it's my fourth water for the day. I am not a nutritionist, so I want to just, prefix that I'm not telling anybody what to do. That's certainly your job. You're much more prone at that than I could possibly educate somebody on. But this is what worked for me. And I will tell you that they say that you should drink roughly half of your weight in pounds. So I weigh about 115 pounds. They say you should drink half of your weight in pounds in ounces for the day. So for example, this is 24 ounces, right? So if I'm 115 pounds, let's say I was 100 pounds, I'm not, but just divide that in half and you would say 50, and that would be how many ounces you would drink a day, right? So doing easy math there. I will tell you that my experience has been that I actually drink my weight in ounces a day. So I actually try to drink between 4 and 5 of these a day, which that would be about 125 ounces of water. So I will tell you that it has been life-changing for me. It has made me more awake. Like I don't feel as exhausted during the day. It made me more clear-headed. It got rid of any kind of acne issues I was having on my skin. It was like flushing my skin out. So the dramatic changes I saw in that were really life-changing, were extraordinarily life-changing for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now I know you mentioned electrolytes and stuff like that, and alkaline water too is a thing. Just consuming the water isn't always enough. We need to pay attention. Sometimes the water itself is not good for us. The nitrates and things like that can be quite detrimental. So also be aware of that. So I appreciate you bringing that up because water is key. We must always hydrate. And hey, you can find these. Let me just give a quick little plug. You can find this great water bottle on my Etsy shop. So,
that's awesome.
You can stay hydrated and it's not plastic. So it's all good. But
and that's so important.
It is important. And, it does help you have better energy. And those electrolytes are important because as you talk about having a lot of water, as a runner for, more than a decade, I do also want to bring to the attention that you can overhydrate if there aren't electrolytes in some of that water. So for those who might be drinking lots of water when it's hot or just lots of water in general, be sure that some of that water, if you're drinking more than half of your body weight, that some of that contains electrolytes, because otherwise you'll get your system off and that can be detrimental too. So
so that's awesome knowledge. And thank you for sharing that back because I need to do probably a little more research to understand that in my own system. And I will tell you, I don't drink cold water. I try to drink room temperature water. That's another really big thing. So you can digest it easier. And I find that it goes down easier. Sometimes drinking really cold water, you can't drink as much. I will tell you electrolytes. I've been through a lot of them thinking I found like the master electrolyte, and then you realize what's in them. There's a lot of garbage in electrolytes as well. And so, I know you, again, guide your clients extraordinarily well on what they're selecting to put in their waters, but definitely if you can find the cleanest trace minerals and avoid anything that is, that has any kind of, I don't even like stevia, even though they say stevia is okay for you. Like, again, look for stuff that is as clean as possible that you can put into your water. That really is important.
Yeah. And while we're talking about that, A lot of times people think they really want to add a little something to their water so that they can drink it, because it gets, boring to drink plain water. I too, I don't drink coffee, tea, any pop, anything like that, just water. And then an occasional drink, when I have them, but I don't consume those other things. But I also want to say, like, just the little colored additives, that especially should be avoided because of the food dye in it. So please,
100%.
everyone, don't add the little squirt of color. If you're going to choose an electrolyte drink that is just standard Gatorade, Powerade, something like that, please choose a clear one, because then at least there's not a food dye in it, because that can be more detrimental than anything. So, but back to the good stuff, and what you've got to share with us. That's just one of the 5 things you have as not negotiable. So continue, tell us, what else is it that you must do?
So when I was 40 and I was having these issues, I went and found a very specialized vitamin shop, and we all have them. You've got to have one within an hour distance of your home. So just research it. And I recommend that you find someone who owns the vitamin shop, who has done the research, is educated about what kind of products he or she has in her store, because they are amazing resources, and we should all have something like that. We happen to have an amazing one about 20 minutes from my house.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to see this woman. Now I'm 52, and I've been going for, I'm sorry, I'm 51. Sorry, that was a total blip. Who was I talking to that told me they were 52? I'm 51. I want to rush my 50s. And I've been going to see her now for 11 years. And anytime I have an issue, I go to see her. So, with being premenopausal now and going through this, change of life, certainly things are changing. And so one thing that I really find is supplements had become a non-negotiable for me. And I started that about 11 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, again, I'm sure you can guide very well on this, but supplements are so important, not only high quality supplements, so knowing what kind of supplements you're getting, but we think we have to take supplements because they talk about, well, you should take vitamin D, and you should have B, and you should have, K with vitamin D. And so all the things we need to understand. But really, at the end of the day, there's 2 things I'd say about supplements. Number one is your body's needs change. So you should stay in touch with that. And some of that can be done through testing. So there is testing, and I've had it done where you can see where your vitamin levels are to understand which vitamin supplements you actually need to be putting into your body. Yeah. Number 2, I would tell you that what I've seen is changes. So I recently, in the last year, trying to figure out my own changes in my body, things that I've needed, I've definitely seen a layer of inflammation that has appeared on my skin. And so I really started working towards figuring out what that was and how to remove that. So I'm on now a new anti-inflammatory supplement that I absolutely love. It's called CuraMed, CuraMed. And I'm not here to endorse any products. I'm just here to share my, success stories.
Yes.
And I will tell you,
anti-inflammatory is fantastic, right? So,
yeah. And I'm sure you could guide on many other anti-inflammatory products that could be used as well. So I would definitely tell you that supplements change, but I do believe, unfortunately, that our food is not as rich with vitamins today as it was when we were kids. And I do believe that supplementing with high quality vitamin supplements is something that you should consider. So I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah. And magnesium is such an important one that I really, it's like the first thing we talk about with Flip This Chick, because it helps so many different things. It helps your muscles fire. It helps recovery. It helps clarity. It helps so many things. And that is one that kind of gets ignored. We talk about vitamins all the time, but magnesium is one that often people don't really think of. And in the US, we really are lacking in it because of the way our food is produced and everything. So much is taken out of our nutrients. So magnesium is huge, and knowing which kind to get and everything is important. So
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's one of the really important things. But, and vitamin D, go soak it up from the sunshine. That's the best way to get it, because your body absorbs it best through the sun, So I appreciate you bringing that to the forefront too, because those things matter. It's really important. And what I love about, your success is that the truth behind all of it is that your priority is staying healthy. So it's so often that we actually make that the last thing we do, right? We're like,
And
oh
it's
my gosh,
so
I wake
important.
up and my list is this and this and this and this and this. And if I have time, I'll do those healthy things, the self-care things, right? The reality is someone who is this successful, author, 500, Fortune 500, business and all this stuff, the first thing you do is take care of your health.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why you're here today.
Right.
Is because you are living proof that the most important thing we need to do when we think the most important thing is being successful in our life and business is that it's our health.
Right. And we can't give to anybody, right? I can't give to my clients. I can't give to my husband. I can't give to my children if I can't give to myself first.
Right.
So I do.
Yeah.
And I am an early riser. I have to say, I figure skated early in the morning. It's always stuck with me. But, if you got to get up at 5 a.m. or, 5:30 or 6 a.m. so that you can make sure that you are the priority in your day before your day gets started, I highly recommend it. I highly, highly recommend it. And I'm glad you brought up the magnesium, just real quick to add to that. So I did at the age of 40, and I'm still dealing with migraines. And I didn't realize how important magnesium was either. And it's one of the supplements that I just started taking in the last 6 months. And I'm taking it heavy because of the migraines, and it's actually helping. And so, you are so right that, understanding each of those different vitamins. And it's so great that you can, again, guide people through because listen, there's just a sea of vitamins and supplements that people can take.
It's so
huge
overwhelming.
It's so overwhelming. So for you to be able to guide clients through, that's awesome.
And also the reality is we don't need all of them. And sometimes people just think more is better. It's not, the same as actually we're finding out at, in perimenopause and menopause, more exercise isn't better either. So more is better isn't what happens at this phase in our life. And actually that's kind of cool. Like you don't have to work harder. You just need to know better in order to do better. And that's why we're here doing this summit, is because I am passionate about helping women to know better so we can do better. It was like only a year and a half ago that when menopause really kind of attacked me for 4 years, I finally figured out the differences. I'm like, oh no, I have to, really master this. And then realized I wasn't alone and I need to help tons of other women figure it out too. So that's exactly why we do it. But we just have to know that you can actually do it simpler than if you just have systems, and you simply execute them. One of the things I like that you say you get up early. I'm not an early riser. I won't pretend to be. I actually could stay up till you get up rather than get up at that time. But so whatever time of day you have to do your stuff, do it. If that's when you thrive, do that. But it's all important. But, one of the things we do is actually, say like, look, get these things that are your health priority done first, because the sooner you can check off, whether it's physically on a whiteboard or on your phone or just in your head, oh, I did this and this and this and this, like I said I would, the sooner your brain starts to believe the things you tell it that you'll do, and it starts to move away the things that will get in your way because, oh, she said she's going to walk every day and she's been doing it. She's checking it off. She said she's going to take magnesium and collagen and vitamin B, C. She said that and she is doing it. So the more often you check off the good things for yourself that you said you were going to do, the sooner your brain believes you. And it starts to move aside the things that would get in the way of that, because you're the person who does what you said. And
I love that.
Turns into such a beautiful thing. So the fact that you get up and do it every single day, maybe you aren't physically checking it off on the list, but because you have consistently done it is the perfect example of what we try to execute in Flip This Chick. Is like, look, start doing it so your body, brain believe you'll do it. And soon it'll just keep happening because that's who you are and it knows that's who you are. And it's incredible. It's incredible. So
it's brilliant. I love that you do that and Flip This Chick. And I think, what you're really just doing is positively encouraging yourself, right?
Yes,
there's that positive momentum and movement that you're creating. So that's awesome. All right. Number 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, number 3. So to feed to all that positivity, one of the things I learned over the last really 6 months as I've been going through this transition is how much protein we need to consume as adults. Now, I was a vegetarian for probably at least 20 years. And I definitely started to see impact and problems. And now I'm not going to profess to say that I was a good vegetarian. I probably didn't eat correctly to have enough protein as a vegetarian. So as a default to that, I went back to eating meat. So seafood, and I actually went back to eating red meat. And I'll get to the blood type diet in my next one. But I realized as I did more research that there was other ways I should be eating for my body type. So I went back to eating meat, and that was huge. I remember the first meal I had, and I called my husband and said, I had steak and eggs today. And he's like, what? You know,
like, what have you done with my wife? Right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what is that all about? But so one of the things that I really discovered through this process, which is actually fascinating to me, is how much protein we need to consume every day. And I can assure you, I was not getting enough. There's just no way. So I was sharing with you that, one of the things that, so I will eat meat, and I do eat more meat than I used to. I've kind of incorporated things back into my diet, like Greek yogurts and things like that I had eliminated. Went back to eggs, which I had eliminated. So I had kind of taken a lot of things out of my diet, and look, there's obviously a huge debate out there, vegan or vegetarian versus a meat eater. And, there's no way we'd have enough time to debate all that. And believe me, I was down that path, and, I believed I was never going to eat meat again. But it has definitely changed my life, eating more protein, and it's made me way more energetic, way more clear-headed. I mean, for a while, I was like having to take naps in the afternoon, and I was like, this is just not normal. Like, I shouldn't have to be doing this. So really life-altering when you start to pay attention to how much protein you're actually consuming. So I was sharing, I actually have found, because I do still believe in the vegan lifestyle, but I have found an organic vegan protein powder that has a pea protein in it, and it only has 6 ingredients in the entire protein powder. I absolutely love it. And for me, it's a little bit of a supplement, because if I need to eat 75 grams of protein a day, if I can get, 30 of them in my, or even 35 of them, so half of them just in my one protein shake, because I add flax and hemp and, all those things that you can add to kind of increase the protein that you're getting from that shake. That's huge for me, because it just means it's less meat I have to eat during the day to supplement. Again, now there's plenty of other things you can eat besides meat to create good protein in your body if you want to be a vegetarian. But I'm just letting you know that's what's changed for me. So it's been transformative.
Yeah. Prioritizing protein is a major foundation. Actually, it's the first thing we talk about in our program, because it's, if your body gets what it needs, it'll get rid of what it doesn't. Right. So prioritizing protein means it's going to say, oh, I have what I need to build and repair muscle. I have what I need to function. I have what I need for clarity. I have what I need to survive. So I can shed the excess weight. I can shed the fat. I can shed the other things. So if you focus on protein, and ladies, seriously, put in the comments if you want to know your protein number, because there is a number for everyone. It's different for everyone. But seriously, if we identify that and you just commit to that being the priority, then everything else will fill in, and naturally you'll be more full, so you won't eat the other stuff. Naturally you'll be less hungry, so you won't eat the other stuff. Like, there's just so many good things about it. So it's, it's remarkable how, people who are succeeding in life and business are implementing the things that we say are important to implement, right? So it's not just because we want you to look good. It's because we want you to succeed in life and business also. And so that's, getting in better shape and fitting into clothes and getting rid of the menopause middle, all of that is just a perk. The reality is, the most important thing is that we stay healthy and alive so we can be here to live for all the other things.
100%. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I'll add to that and say that for me, because I do run such a, I was running around the planet speaking on stages in 32 countries in a year, I had to keep my energy level extraordinarily high. But it's not just my energy level, but it was my brain power.
Right.
And, I'd be on crazy time zones. And so for me, a lot of these things really help me to be clear-headed and to stay capable to be able to deliver success and results, because that's what I love to do.
Right.
And so it really sometimes, look, a byproduct, awesome. Like definitely get the weight off, definitely was gaining the weight, my midriff from, menopause, like all those things that was going on, the puffiness on my skin, no doubt about it, then have to, readjust and make shifts. But, there's not just the physical being, but there's the mental, truly the mental being of being able to stay positive and energetic and mindful and thoughtful and be, creative and all the things that we need to do in our lifetime. So it really kind of goes to that level as well. So I think everything you're saying is totally synergetic to the entire body's experience of the outcomes you can create. So
that's
all right.
awesome.
So two more
Awesome.
great ones. So the fourth one is the blood type diet. And I kind of mentioned that when I started with 3, because this was something a friend of mine actually introduced me to, and it was partly derivative of the migraines that I was having. And I can't tell you how much the blood type diet changed my life. It actually dramatically changed my life. Now, I know women have taken the blood type diet to lose weight. I wasn't in that situation where I needed to have this extreme weight loss, but I was desperate to find anything that was causing my migraines. And my allergy, now in hindsight, was probably some kind of eczema or something that I was having on my skin, this mixture of acne and eczema. So I was desperate. So I got into the blood type diet. And if anyone's not read about the blood type, technically the way they kind of describe it is there's 3 different general blood types. So there's A, B, and O. And it doesn't really matter if you're positive or negative necessarily in terms of the details of the blood type diet. But it's actually fascinating. And I took my son recently, it was a couple of years back, to get his blood type tested. And I just went to a blood lab. I think we paid $50 and he had his blood tested and he was able to get his blood type, because a lot of women look for it on their, if they had a baby, they're looking for it. But it's not always there. So just know you can go get it really easily. But what's amazing about it is when you learn your blood type and you start to discover what kind of foods chemically your body does well with. So I'll give you an example. I'm a blood type B, and I literally cannot eat lectins in chicken. So I literally avoid chicken. I cannot eat tomatoes. I am not supposed to eat avocados. So there's a whole list of products. And when I say a whole list, there's probably 10 or 15 products on the list or foods on the list. That are like, do not eat products, like just stay away from them. And I have to tell you, it took me about 3 years to master the diet, but it cut my migraines down dramatically, just absolutely dramatically. And it cleared up my skin 100%. And it gave me back just a new lease on life to realize that there are just certain foods that I can't eat. And I will tell you, they were immediate triggers. And sometimes it would be, if I'd have 1 or 2 of those things over a week, it would just shoot off the migraine, or it would create this. So once I was aware of what I was eating, and it all started because I ate a tomato, basil, and mozzarella salad for dinner one night. And I just had this massive breakout. And I thought, what in this could be causing me to have these issues? And as soon as I discovered on the blood type diet, the foods that were triggering things for me, it was tomatoes. Then I realized that if I could just control what I was consuming more and understand that, it would give me a new lease on life. So anyway, that has been life-changing. And I am a huge believer in the blood type diet. So anyone who wants to do some research on that, it's pretty fascinating.
That is. And in addition to that, not necessarily even only a blood type diet, but identifying the things that aren't good for your body by, just if you have inflammation, start with a clean slate of eliminating corn, wheat, dairy, and then add in one thing at a time and say, oh, how do I respond to that? How do I respond to that? And when you know what your body can't do well with, I don't do red meat, I don't do dairy, it's not negotiable, there is no exception. Then when that is the case, if it's wheat, you have celiac disease or whatever it is, rather than, oh, I can't have this and I can't have that, when we go about the thought process of, here's what I can have and it suits me well, I thrive on it and it's good for my body, then there's a huge list of what you can have. We don't need to worry about what you can't. Like, why
I
would
love
you
that.
even think about putting something in that just gives you a bad result in how you feel and how your head feels and the inflammation in your body. All of that is just like, why? Like, if you can identify the things that don't work well for you, be grateful you know it, and then respond, because most people don't know. But I'll tell you, in every case that you are having skin issues or joint issues or anything, something in what you're consuming, whether it's lotion, soap, shampoos, food, drink, something you're consuming is yelling at you, right? It's screaming at the top of its lungs, coming out your skin to say, knock it off. And we need to listen, whether it's getting, that blood type diet under check, or just figuring out what it is that doesn't work. Somehow your body is telling you that's not right. And the mind shift of not thinking of what we can't have as opposed to what we can is really big. It's really big. Stay on the outside of the aisles in the grocery store, and you can have most of that usually. But when you can figure out the things that your body gets inflamed from, you've got to respect it. It is so important. And you're lucky to know. A lot of people don't know, so I love that idea for, helping to identify and actually having a process to identify it instead of just guesswork. So,
and I appreciate your idea of,
Mhm.
enjoy the things you can eat, right? Because you don't have to eat everything on the planet. So
Right.
I love your direction around, be appreciative of the things that you can consume
Yeah.
versus the things you can't. I think that's a brilliant mindset shift for people that they need to really
Yeah.
consider. Yeah.
Right.
Instead of feeling limited, feel like there's abundance, but you understand what abundance you're living in. So I think that's
Right.
awesome.
Yeah. And it simplifies things. Steve Jobs wears only
Totally.
black shirts. If all you can have are these foods, you don't have to worry about how many groceries to get. You get in, get out, and get it done, right?
100%,
It's less
100%.
to
It
think about.
actually, it makes your life easier. It really
It
does.
does.
And people think that, that we have to have this huge variety of food. And one thing that I learned over the last 10 years is you really don't. It's okay if you eat similar foods over and over again, as long as those foods are right for you and as long as they
meet
work
your
for your
needs.
system.
They
Totally.
have the vitamins, minerals, all those things that you need. The healthiest people actually eat most commonly the same real foundation of foods every day, and then just flex it back and forth every once in a while. But it simplifies it, right?
Great to know. There's so
Yeah.
much to learn. You have so much value to give. So I'm learning little bits as we're
Like
talking.
what,
So
right?
that's awesome.
And that's what we
Okay.
talked about. Little tweaks can make big results.
Bite-sized
So
chunks.
yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Tell
well,
us your last
okay, number
one.
5 is last one. This is the most controversial, no doubt, I'm sure. Although I think it's fascinating. So alcohol. So one of the things that I discovered was certainly certain alcohol was affecting me. So I ended up kind of narrowing down, which I absolutely love tequila. So I narrowed down, and tequila was my alcohol of choice, right?
Wow.
And I would do it with a lime, a lemon, and an orange, and I loved it. And I just would drink it clean. And, that was my thing. It was like fine wine, right? Fine tequila. But I really realized, and it was about 5 years ago, that still it was one of the only things that was still triggering, besides my menstruation cycle. It was one of the only things that was still triggering my migraines. And about 5 years ago, I had my last one. I'd had some tequila. We had some friends over, and I had 3 days of migraines after that. And I just decided I was done. I was never going to drink alcohol again. Now my children, who are older and in their 20s, they say to me, like, Mom, can we get drunk together sometime? We've never had cocktails together, and they're always like, for my wedding, can we do that? So I told my husband at some point I probably have to crack. But, one of the things by giving up alcohol, it's certainly very socially difficult. There's no doubt about it. I'm a very social human being. I'm in business. I travel all over the world. Drinking together is something that is very socially accepted. But when you start to realize what alcohol actually does to your system, and really, truly, you could tell me better, but I don't believe there's any real benefit to drinking alcohol, like maybe not one, other than feeling more relaxed or, all those things. But between it disrupting your fat burning ability, between it dehydrating your body and creating more wrinkles in your skin. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but at the end of the day, it's useless calories really at the end of the day. But now that there's menus out there with mocktails on it all over the place,
Finally,
there's all kinds of
finally,
options.
right?
Exactly. I was out to dinner with somebody the other night, someone I
Yeah.
used to travel the world with, and it turns out he doesn't drink. And I didn't even realize that 15 years he hasn't drank. And so we both ordered mocktails, and our spouses both ordered their cocktails because they drank. And that's okay. I don't judge anybody. I
Right.
just know for me,
Yeah.
it has been life-changing for me.
Yeah.
And so that is really my number 5 non-negotiable is non-alcohol. And again, there's so many choices to go the non-alcohol. Now, I'm not
Yeah.
suggesting you drink mocktails that have a lot of sugar in them, because that
Exactly.
doesn't help the
Right.
problem. So we have
Right.
to be really careful. But if you really feel like you need a mocktail to feel like you could be
Mhm.
part of the social
Yeah.
experience, then
Mhm.
go for it. But do that as a
Yeah.
supplement to alcohol.
Yeah. And just, I most often drink club soda with lemon and lime. And, then, say, hey, just put that in the same kind of glass and nobody asks, you know. So whether you're doing that between drinks just to lessen how many drinks you have, or you're doing it 100%, you can do that. And now restaurants are finally bringing drinks on there that just say, oh, here's what our drink menu is. If you want to add liquor to it, here's what it is. And I love that. In Lakewood Ranch at the new Waterside, they have the restaurants are doing that. And I'm like, finally, let's do that, So
Yeah,
it's
that's
been
great.
about 3 years since I really lessened my alcohol intake into just, seltzers. And, I'm like, okay. And then, because alcohol and red meat are the top 2 inflammation causers in the human body. So if we can limit those 2 things the most, then you automatically set yourself up for success, because inflammation in and of itself just allows for disease. It just allows for pain. It allows for so many things that just don't benefit us. So, it's great to, make this as that non-negotiable, because you're right, there is no benefit to it. And the great news is among this summit, we have a few people who are going to help us with ideas on how to lower stress and action to take, so that we don't have to necessarily do that in order to do it. So we'll have some action plans for everybody for that too. So that's a plus. So I just want to thank you so much for sharing that with us, because there are so many women in business trying to learn how to navigate all this. And even if, you're not in a full blown busy business, but you're trying to figure out how to navigate life and be successful, this is a good way to do it. These 5 non-negotiables really show us, oh, watch your water, make sure you get protein, don't drink so much alcohol, choose your own non-negotiables. And when you do that, commit to them and be proud of them, right? And just be like, this is who I am. Because as soon as you start to identify yourself, make those choices, and then believe it, your brain will know that's who you are and start making that your reality. And it's so great to soon become that person who those non-negotiables don't even like, it probably doesn't even come towards you anymore, right? Like, it's not so hard to fight against it when it's just your reality for a while. Then suddenly it's no big deal to do it anymore. At first it's a little shift, and if you can just do little incremental changes, then they fall in line better. But once you do it, it's just life, and it feels better, right?
Absolutely.
So,
You feel better. So why wouldn't you want to do things to make you feel better? And of course, you know, non-negotiable for me is I have to exercise at least, 5 days a week. But
right.
to me, if you have to pick real non-negotiables, the things we talked about today, understanding what your body needs to thrive, and, supplementing those things. And like you said, the alcohol, all those things that we talked about, whatever that is for you, the protein and things.
Mm-hmm.
Those are things you can control every single day. You can
Right.
control what you put in your mouth every single day. It really isn't that hard. You just have
Right.
to make conscious decisions around what you're doing. And so
Right.
I empower anyone who's here
Mm-hmm.
listening and looking for answers on how they can be better. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
not only, is your program extraordinarily valuable for people who are trying to find and navigate that pathway. So I totally endorse what you're doing for women. But I also think that it is every woman's and man's accountability to themselves to feel and look and thrive in their best experience. And that is truly through the choices that you make. And you can do it.
Absolutely.
It's not that hard. It just takes time.
Right. And commitment. Right. That's awesome.
100%. accountability, I say.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I know all the women tuning in are just reaping great benefits from learning from you. And I'm sure lots of notes are being taken, and that's what's great about this, meeting of the minds. We're able to get those recordings in the VIP experience. They can do that, and then they can re-listen and listen and listen again. So if you can't catch it all, then grab the VIP and you'll be able to catch that and then make notes the second time you listen to it. And that'll be great. So Korie, I do appreciate you being here. You're always a joy to be around and learn from and all of that. And we will keep an eye out for you as you continue to, travel the world in your success and bring great things to everyone. So thank you for being part of this summit. It means a lot to me, and I'm glad that you've been able to be here with us.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here and honored to support the work that you do, because I do believe that you have a talent and a knowledge that women around the world need. So I really hope that this encourages people to take that first step.
Thanks. Thank you very much. We will keep an eye out for you. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.